Excellent. I'd like to call the meeting to order for, let's see, today is Wednesday, December 6th. A little earlier than normal, but that's okay. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
We want to do roll call first.
Oh, yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Alexandria is not in tonight. Ryan, we're missing as well. David. I know he's here because he was just talking. Dawn.
Yep, I'm here.
Present.
Kimberly.
Present.
Upekala is not here with us tonight. Will. And then Lori is absent as well.
All righty. Next up is changes to the agenda. Does anybody have any concerns or issues with our agenda that they'd like to change? Any additions, deletions, postponements, anything? Not seeing anything. All righty, consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? I, for one, have, and I was impressed. Good job, Chelsea. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from last month.
Excellent. Is there a second? Jim or David?
I second it.
Excellent. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? I don't think so. Next up is public comment. I understand we have a guest with us this evening that would like to have a bit of a conversation with us. Are you with us there? Yes?
Give me just a second. I have to unmute.
Okay. And what's our guest's name?
This is Jen.
Jen.
She's with
Okay.
O'Malley Brothers.
Right.
I'm going to give you 3 minutes. So I'm going to allow you to talk, and then we'll give you about a 3-minute timer. There you go.
Hi, good evening. I assume my camera's off.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you. One, thanks for having me, and thank you. I know you guys are all public servants, and I appreciate that. I volunteer on a few boards myself. So I just want to read a quick letter. One, this is in regard to the demolition of the pool and aquatic center. And we submitted a bid along with all the other companies on Monday. And just a few thoughts. I wanted to say one thank you, but O'Malley Brothers Corporation is presenting our bid for the Aquatic Center and Old Cedar Ridge demolitions. Our team of committed employees, from machine operators to office administrators, has a reputation for attention to detail and dedication to environmental protection, quality control, and safety. Our most recent demolition, completed in September 23, was a demolition of a 3,000 square foot house in a 17,000 square foot former tuberculosis hospital for Middle School District. The results were safe, successful demolitions. The majority of our employees reside in East County: Sandy, Boring, Eagle Creek, Estacada, and Gresham. Some of our children attend OTSD schools, and we understand the impact of closing Alt Avenue as a pickup line for Sandy Grade and being adjacent to the OTA bus hub. We are the generations that swam and then took our kids to birthday parties and swim lessons at the pool. We know the skate park is a recreational area enjoyed by many in the area. We played and have coached our kids' sports teams inside that middle school gym and sports track down below. We understand the impact the demolition will have on the community because we will feel it ourselves. However, we have also read the 2018 OPSIS study, as well as the most recent pool study, seen the future park plans, and know that this is the best option for our community. Dollars spent toward this demolition would stay local, not taken out of state. You will see us purchasing supplies at Napa and Ace, have our vehicles and equipment maintained at IDS and Allison Power Systems. You'll see our employees eating at Tollgate, Two Brothers, or Smoky Hearth. We'll grab breakfast burritos from Shell or donuts from Joe's because we know they both make the best of their kind. This year, we held our company team building event at the Sandy Community Center and enjoyed lunch catered by Sandbar. Most importantly, we would provide a safe and successful demolition. We did our due diligence, spending a combined 100+ hours between our administrative and operations staff, learning the building's compositions and surrounding land to prepare our bid. We evaluated the ceiling pool beams, hopped in the middle school crawl space, that was me, taking laser measurements all around the buildings. We poured over the plan sets to fully understand the scope of work. We feel prepared to successfully complete the project and are asking City of Sandy to consider officially accepting our bid based on the Buy Oregon preference. Thank you for time and consideration.
Jen, thank you very much. That was a very well put together letter. I'm not quite sure if you are familiar with what our charge is. We are an advisory board only. Our job is to provide feedback and information to city council and staff as in an advisory capacity. We're not a policy-making board per se, and we are not quasi-judicial. In other words, we don't get to make decisions. We just get to make recommendations or choices. Unfortunately, the acceptance of bids and the decisions on how bids work and the nuts and bolts of putting the bid packets together is significantly above our pay grade. While some of us may have a little bit of experience in those areas, it is something that generally we aren't allowed to deal with, or we don't deal with. So with that, the one thing that we can promise you is that your letter has been officially recorded and entered into the public space. It will also be included within our minutes, which are sent to the city council. And the city council has a very strong track record of reviewing our minutes in a pretty reasonably experienced time slot. So it's not like they languish anywhere. They do go places, and people do read them and will be aware of your situation and your request. With that, I wish you all the luck in the world. I look forward to hopefully working with you sometime in the near future, and whether or not you're selected to do this job, don't give up on us, and keep hanging with us, keep following us, and there will be more projects to come. This is just the beginning. So I thank you very much for your input. Does anybody have any from the board? Will or David or Kim, do you have any questions or comments you'd like to make?
I don't have any.
Will? No? Okay. And Kim? No? Well, Jen, once again, thank you so much for coming out this evening, or staying in and dialing in this evening with us. I, again, very much appreciate it and wish you all the luck in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, now, next item on the agenda, I believe, is old business. I'm getting the agenda off my phone tonight, so bear with me for a minute. Yes, old business, update on park naming for the community campus park.
I believe that is going to be me to start. I'm going to pull up a presentation to share with you all so you can follow along with me. So give me a second as I pull that up. Drag this out of the way real quick. Are you all able to see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm going to kick it off and kind of do some introductions, go over a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff. And then it was kind of clunky, but I was going to introduce you to John Hamblin, who has joined us. He is the chair of our park naming committee, and he will be with us presenting on the topic as well. But I want to go over some kind of logistics that happened beforehand and where we're at. Start. So our agenda today is we're going to talk about our purpose kind of and some introductions, which I just did. We're going to review the process of what the park naming committee did, our policy, the surveys that we went out, and then finally kind of end on a name, and then finally what our next steps are, or your next step as a board is in the naming of our new park. If at any point in time you have got questions, feel free to interrupt me. It's kind of hard to keep track of the chat, and it's kind of hard to keep track of hand raises. So just interrupt me, unmute yourselves, and it's all good, and we can go from there. So again, I introduced John Hamlin because he was unfamiliar, but our co-chair also on this committee was Will Toogood, and I wanted to thank both of them for going kind of above and beyond and meeting me after hours, and as I helped kind of facilitate the decision of this park name and our policies and what we do going forward. We're going to review the process of the naming of this park, and then hopefully the purpose is that we're going to suggest a name for the board to recommend to council, and then ask and answer any questions throughout. So kind of where we were to where we are now. I'll finish this slide, then I'll kick it off to John. But on March 20th, 2023, City Council adopted our policy for naming or changing the names of park trails or recreational facilities. And it just so happens that we are building a brand new park. So the timing for this was great. As per our policy that was adopted, there needs to be a committee in place to kind of help organize the work that goes into doing this. And on that committee, you need to have a staff liaison, someone who works for the city that can help facilitate. Myself, a chair, John Hamlin, co-chair, Will Toogood, a council representative, Lori Smallwood, another member of the board, Ryan Altman, and then a couple members of the community, Hans Whipper and Liz Mackey. And that made up our committee. And then after we had our committee, we started to meet, and I'm going to kick it over to John Hamlin kind of at this process, and he can kind of take you through how the chair and the committee and myself went through this process.
Absolutely. And just for the record too, when I say the name John, I'm not talking in first person, but I'm referencing John Wallace. So, but thank you for that introduction, and thank you for setting the stage for what we conducted so far. So after this, the committee got together. We had our first meeting at the end of August. Really the intent with that meeting, first we needed to identify a chair and co-chair, but we needed to review the policy and process. And being a former city councilor as well too, I'm fully aware of how some of the committees function and operate. So it's important for us to understand and really agree upon what we're going to do process-wise moving forward and the parameters that we needed to operate within based off that policy. So after that first meeting, the committee really kind of handed the work over to John, Will, and myself to meet separately and do some of that prep work to initiate that public feedback and the survey, and then really to design what we are going to suggest out there for process. On September 14th, we actually released a survey. I'm sure many of you probably completed the survey as well too. I know I did, and others in our neighborhood did as well too. And go ahead and go to the next slide. So we got results back, and I think as many of you who have been serving, whether you work for the city or you're serving on the Parks Board, or any involvement in any public meetings, anytime you get public comment, in particular around this area of town, you can expect to hear something about the pool. So we did have to go through quite a few of those responses, and really those rules that were set forth in the policy on the naming were extremely helpful, because it really helped us identify what was a useful name that we could move forward because it met the conditions necessary, which there were many that did, 144 of those entries. And really what we tried to do is we really tried not to have our own opinion sway or determine what the park names or potential park names would be, but to actually really rely heavily on the data. And so really from here, we met with John separately, Will and I did, to really start vetting all these names and making sure they met the conditions that were set forth in policy. But most importantly, to use the data actually to identify which names we go back out to both the committee for approval, to ask the community again in a second round survey. And with that process, really, we just use numbers. The massive number of votes that we received, we really start breaking that down to say, here's the top vote getter, here's the second, third, etc. And do we have a natural break that we want to distribute out these potential names, top 10 names, to suggest out to the community in a second round survey? Go ahead and jump to the next one. So this is just kind of an example of what we had for the park name and what we had for the descriptions. And really some of these, I mean, you can see in here the pool name. It was one of the suggested names as well too, with expectations around why we would name that park after Olin as well too. And some similarities between some names as well too, but really from this, we used all of that survey information to score and rank and really kind of go back out to the public again with an unranked list. So if it was the number one on the top 10 list, we didn't say this is number one, this is number two. We just gave those options for the community to choose from in the second round survey. Go ahead and jump onto that next one. Oh, it jumped off into the Excel doc. Okay, so we decided to ask folks again what they wanted. So November 3rd, you likely saw the survey go out again. We gave the top 3 choices of Discovery Park, Cedar Park, and Sandy River Park. We kept that survey open for almost a month, and we have some results for you as well too. Does somebody want to do a drum roll? Okay, here we go. I'll give you a minute to kind of look at this. But the 3 choices, Discovery Park, Cedar Park, and Sandy River Park. Cedar Park was the top vote winner, 49.22% of the vote. It received 284 votes, which is pretty impressive. I mean, considering that first round, we had 144 total selections. We were asking folks to do quite a bit more in that first one. It wasn't just give us a name, but give us a name and also tell us how it meets the conditions set within the policy for park naming as well. So cool thing, Cedar Park is the name. The nice part too is we felt like this doesn't get confusing with some of the other names in the area. So Cedar Ridge is another one that was suggested earlier. That starts to get confusing with Cedar Ridge Middle School and that property as well too. So it was kind of nice that it landed on Cedar Park. And those other 2 vote getters, I mean, it's still a substantial number of folks. So even as we're moving forward, if there's other park names that need to come up, we've got some suggestions already from the community that have voted on them. Any questions on this part here or anything so far?
Am I reading that right, John? 577 votes?
Total
Total?
votes, yeah.
Okay.
That's an impressive number.
That is. Having been a city councilor, we don't see a lot of votes come through that with that high of a number on a survey or survey responses. So very impressive number.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead and jump onto that next. Okay, so to summarize, the chair and co-chair, we made a policy and data-driven decision throughout the process. Like I mentioned, we didn't take any liberties ourselves to say, I really like this name, or I really like this name, or I think this one should be on the top of the list. We let the data talk through the entire process. They're all vetted. The names were all vetted through the entry process in the park naming policy as well. We had suggestions with multiple entries, and this was like if it was a similar name, and we felt that this was close enough to the same name that we could actually combine and not have it be something that would be confusing where it's like, no, I meant this or I meant this. So if we had names that were similar or a misspelling, we made those corrections, but that was it. And it was completely blindly ranked by the park naming committee. So when we actually looked at all these results and responses, my cat's doing something in the background, sorry. When we looked at all the results and responses, they're blindly ranked by the park naming committee too. Top 3 suggestions, that's what we brought out in the final survey. We knew if we brought out more than the top 3, we were likely going to run into some issues with maybe more names being tied or close to each other, where we might have to go out for a 3rd round. So we wanted to complete the process in a more timely manner. And Cedar Park, like I mentioned, was the clear winner with 284 votes. 2nd place and 3rd place, 172, 121 votes on each of those. And go ahead and jump to the next. Okay, so the recommendation is based on the use of the park naming policy, public engagement, and data-driven decision-making. The chair and co-chair of the park naming committee suggests that the Parks and Trails Advisory Board recommends Cedar Park to City Council as the name of Sandy's newest park. And there's a suggested motion here, but I'll also pause and see if there's any questions around process or questions for city staff as well.
Does anybody have any questions? Not seeing or hearing any. Keep going.
All right, so the suggested motion is I move that the Parks and Trails Advisory Board recommends Cedar Park as the official name of Sandy's newest park.
Is there anybody willing to make a motion?
I'll make
I'll
a
make a mo-
motion to adopt the name as Cedar. I want to say Cedar Ridge, but I know that's not it.
Cedar Park?
Cedar Park. For the newest park of the city, Sandy.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I second that.
Excellent. Thank you, Kim. Any discussion amongst the committee members? Not seeing any. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Not seeing or hearing anything. Congratulations, John Hamlin, and congratulations, Will and John Wallace and the other members of the committee. Good job.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you tonight.
Yep, and now where does it go from here? Up to city council?
Scheduled
Yep.
to visit City Council, I believe, on the 18th of December. We're on the agenda for that meeting to move forward the recommendation from the Parks Board.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Okay, I believe next on our agenda is rounding the home stretch. Staff updates. Rochelle.
Yeah, thank you. And John and Will and John Hamlin's not online anymore, but thank you for your guys' hard work and dedication to taking that process through the park naming. So I appreciate that. It was a lot of work. So
Watching John Wallace was exhausting. It was just it took everything I had, every bit of energy.
I believe it.
that's fantastic. Just a real quick update. So the demo contract will be going in front of council on December 18th. And the notice to proceed is anticipated to be delivered December 19th. So we'll start to see staging at the community campus area for the demolition part of the project. And then giving the group a real quick update on the park project. Those bids will close December 12th, and at that time we'll be able to evaluate the submittals for the park portion of the construction of the park project, and we'll start to see staging for that in January, February, so that's right around the corner as well. So we've got a lot of stuff going on in the department. We're probably 95% complete with the Cedar Creek Trail. That's the connector trail from the community campus park down to Sandy River Park. So that's an exciting development. And we look forward to doing a mini grand opening for that trail when the time comes. So you're all invited. We'll let you know when that date and time is. But that is what the department's working on. And I know Tiana, and I don't want to steal her thunder, but her and her team and John and Chelsea and everybody has been working extremely hard on Winterfest. And I know they're going to talk a little bit about that and the success of some of the programs. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Tiana and her team. With this unprecedented amount of rain, things have been a little bit tricky this year with breakers getting tripped. And even though some of the lights have been shutting off, the experience is still spectacular. So I just want to say kudos to Tiana and her team and just encourage everybody to take a look if you haven't gone down there already. It's absolutely stunning, and the team did a bunch of work this year, and it took 4 parks crews 4 solid weeks to hang the lights in Meinig and along Pioneer and Proctor. So well done, you guys. Very, very impressive. And I guess with that, I'll hand it over to Tiana for any of staff updates she might have for the group.
Yeah, so we've almost been exclusively all hands on deck in the park here this last week. Just trying to keep it operational and pretty and sparkly for the community. For the most part, it is all lit. Hopefully this evening, there's just a very select few sections that we had to unplug to keep breakers from popping, and we're working through that and bringing in contractors to help evaluate that situation. And hopefully we're going to get a break from the weather next week, and it will get even better. I'm trying to upload some photos because Rochelle triggered a memory for me. but I don't think I'm going to get them uploaded fast enough to share with you. But right at the end of the day today, Neil with the Ant Farm reached out to me and let me know that all the gravel is spread on the new trail, and it's very, very close to complete, and the photos are beautiful. But sorry, I didn't upload those fast enough to get them on the screen for you to share. But we're doing good things out there.
And then John, do you want to finish with the staff reports?
I do, yep. I just wanted to echo your sentiment, Rochelle, to Tiana and her crew and all the hard work they do. It is pretty spectacular, and it takes a lot of work behind the scenes and on times that you're not necessarily scheduled to work to show up and put in massive amount of time to make it look so pretty. So thank you. Winterfest is where I'll start. We've talked about it a lot. We had our tree lighting and then our pet pictures with the Grinch as far as our recreational programming that we did. Being that it was, I don't know, borderline monsoon, I was pretty nervous about the amount of attendance that would happen for these events and the amount of work went in with our sponsors and our vendors and the amount of people there. And Sandy, again, just didn't disappoint. I would guess there was 300 plus people there at the tree lighting, packed in with umbrellas and rain suits, and just, you didn't see a single sad face. Everyone was happy and showed up to watch the tree and then head over to the park. And when I walked through the park, all you heard was oohs and ahs and lots of questions about the upgrades. They could clearly see it. I think the two archway lit, like tunneled bridges are pretty spectacular. And I heard about those repeatedly, and that's all done in-house by Tiana and her team. Two other cool things that have kind of been happening. One of the new ideas that we had for Winterfest was this Jolly Trolley light show, this light experience that we could partner with Transit, Sandy Area Metro, and use their really cool trolleys that they have to go to the different neighborhoods that are lit, and then stop at Meinig Park as well. And I met with one of the transit managers to kind of talk about how this would work. And we went back and forth. We're like, I don't know, let's start with one. Let's see how one trolley would work. And it filled up in about 34 seconds. And so we got back together and said, hey, let's see if we can do a second one on the same night. And then that refilled up in 34 seconds. So then we moved to another. The next day we added two more, which those filled up in 34 seconds. And so now we're doing 6 Jolly Trolleys instead of the one originally. And that happened really fast, which just speaks to, I don't know, the desire for this community to celebrate in this winter and the quality of programming and just the interconnected teamwork we have across departments. So really proud to be a part of that. And then we have this Merry Makeover Challenge / kind of stocking stroll, which is designed to engage like the downtown sector from Bluff to Tenai Greeley, where it's a little more safe to walk, a little more connected. And we have 31 different locations on our map of businesses that are going to light their storefronts for families to go and walk to and engage with on the stocking stroll. So fill their stockings with goodies and treats and candy canes, but also be a part of this Merry Makeover Challenge. I don't want to play favorites by any means, so I'll just name a couple off that I've noticed. If you drive through town, you can see like 2 of the food carts have decorated theirs in a pretty cool way. There's like a Christmas tree made out of skis there at one of them. Next Adventure's got their trees lit out front and lit to the max. We've got the Gateway Tavern has these really beautiful like archway candy canes, and it's just throughout the whole downtown sector you can see these people that have signed up to be a part of these city's events and give back, and it's just adds a little more character, and it's fun to see the people rallying behind this this program. Mountain Storm is our youth basketball league. I'm pivoting, by the way, so thanks for the Winterfest listening. We have upgraded this as well. Last year, I think we had 219 participants in our Mountain Storm leagues, and this year we're 245. And what we found is that's basically our max capacity we can do with the amount of gym space we need to do it in. So we're basically full at that as it stands right now. We've got 9 boys teams for 3rd and 4th, 5 girls teams, 9 boys teams for 5th and 6th, 4 girls teams. Upgraded our refs. Last year we had our coaches reffing 3rd and 4th grade. We were able to recruit harder, more diligently, more focused. So now we have reps that are going to be for both, which is some feedback we heard from our surveys. And then we also purchased an app called Mojo. I don't know if anyone's familiar with I9 Sports. When you sign up with I9, you get an app and it gives coaches practice plans. It gives them the ability to see their roster, to communicate with the roster, to take pictures to share of their games. And Mojo is an app that's similar to what I9 uses. And so every coach gets to control that, and it's going to create just a more unified and consistent communication tool and practice plan between our coaches and their families, which was another piece of feedback we heard at the end of the year survey, that different coaches, different teams had different communication styles all through the map. And when you had a parent that had like a third grader and a fifth grader, and they're getting massive communication from their third grader and almost none from their fifth grader, it just seemed hard. We felt like this would be a way to kind of provide more consistency for our volunteer coaches to use. And then our winter rec guide is coming out. So be on the lookout. It should be finalized by next week. Printing's always a pretty quick turnaround once it's finalized. So if it's not next week, it'll be the week after. And then I wanted to touch at least on one thing that I know Carolina, who was our senior services coordinator, was really proud of, and we're proud of departmentally too. But one of her goals when she came in, and she's about a year into the job, was to have a little more strategic focus on veterans and supporting veterans. And so she had her first veterans event, which she partnered Mount Hood Hospice. There was a 60 in attendance, 31 vets were recognized, and 5 of those being actually city of Sandy staff that we reached out to. She wanted to make sure that I especially thanked Mayor Pulliam, Bert Key, and Jolie from Mount Hood Hospice for speaking, and the Sandy High School Choir for coming and doing the national anthem. Super proud of her and her work to kind of upgrade our services and what she does, and she was very proud of it as well. So I wanted to give her her flowers, her shine, and her kudos tonight. I just talked a lot. Does anyone have any questions?
I just wanted to say that both of my sons are at basketball practice right now, and the Mojo app has been wonderful. It's a lot easier to use than the group chat, where inevitably somebody doesn't understand a group chat and it gets weird.
Thank you for that feedback. That's kind of the whole goal. So I hope it kind of upgrades that whole system for us, at least on the back end of the communication style.
Excellent. Sounds like we have a lot of terrific things going on. I have not made it to see the lights other than driving by quickly, and I will get down there once the weather dries out a little bit more. But anyway, does anybody have any other questions or comments for staff? Anything for the good of the order? Oh, go ahead, David.
Oh, I was just saying, no, I didn't have anything.
Oh, okay. All righty then. For the good of the order, pass dismissed and meeting adjourned.